try to talk about these concepts in the terms that every man plays out. And you probably already figured out that what's going on here is a moral system that identifies a lot of the daily activities of life as not particularly relevant for the main activity. What's the main activity that you should be spending your time on if you're a medieval European?
Securing salvation.
Securing salvation, right? Now, I've got to be careful here. This is pre-Reformation Europe. Later, not too much later, within a century, there is a long and powerful debate about whether salvation in the Christian tradition comes from faith and works. That's a debate that is going on in the Middle Ages, but is not really taking on a very public manifestation until we get to Martin Luther, and this is about 100 years after this play. So when we talk about works here, we're talking about a situation where there was still a strong belief that you could do things on this earth and they would somehow account for your spiritual faith later. It's a very complicated question that kind of oversimplified. Yes?
You said pre-Reformation, so do we have like Simony and the Indulgences going on yet?
Lots of it, yes.
Okay, so that's already there.
Yes, yes. A lot of the stuff that triggers the Reformation is going on right around the time of Everyman. This is the time in Western Europe and England, included in that category, is dominated by the Roman Catholic Church. Remember, in this period, the Bible is not printed in English, right? Now, Gutenberg prints the Bible in German, right? But it's not translated and widely disseminated in English until about 80 to 90 years after this play, give or take. If you were a commoner and you did not learn Latin because you didn't go to university, you probably never read a word of the Bible to yourself. How did you learn what the Bible said? You went to church. Who told you what the Bible said? The priest. And interestingly, the priest would also read the scripture in Latin. So if you went to church, you still wouldn't get it read to you in English. But the sermon, and then all kinds of stories, songs, plays, pageants, legends, non-biblical but religious books would be circulated so you could understand your faith. That's all another hint. Yeah.
I have a question. Oh, I have a comment. The play does allow the viewers one final out. Like, even though you don't live every single day like this, you have an out. Just ask for forgiveness right there at the end and you can have it.
Very end.
So, I mean, yeah, you should have good deeds and blah, 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 but just in case you don't, there's an out.
There is an out. The question is your asking for forgiveness possible and sincere if you kind of just at the last minute said, oh crap, looks like
Well, that's
right.
the mighty question.
The mighty big question. That's the huge question. All right. So,
But every man got away with it, so
he did.
I could then.
And of course, we know we can talk a bit about every man. This is us, right? So you're in medieval Europe. You believe this stuff. You believe this stuff because you've been taught this stuff since you were a child. This is the faith of your parents and your children, and it's the only faith in town. You got to get yourself out of the 21st century mindset where you, presumably, have all kinds of range of faiths or no faith at all, and it doesn't affect your legal standing. It may affect your social standing and your family standing, depending on where you are. But outside of small pockets of Jews in some of the major cities of Western Europe, Catholic Church was the only game in town. You could be a good Catholic or bad Catholic, but you couldn't say, you know what, I'm going to be something else. What happened if you did that now? Heresy. That's a heresy. Yeah, murder, right? So, what this means is that this play was the kind of thing that allowed people who could not read the Bible and interpret the Bible, in other words, almost everybody who was not a priest or an attorney or someone with a university education, to understand their faith in a way that allowed them to change their behavior. So this is the kind of thing that would have been presented at a festival. And Lindsay already mentioned this when I missed last class. I missed you guys so much. That this is something that would have occurred during a fair, right? There might be a fair in your village, downtown, and there's a guy selling apples, and over there's a guy juggling, and then over here, every man's being and you can watch it. You can learn. This is how it would happen. Your own town might even put on every man. When I drive down to Conway, you see like the Theater Republic, right? The idea of amateur community theater is ancient. You could go into an old medieval town in Western Europe and the goldsmith guild might put on Every Man. Or all the sheep, all the wool merchants might put on Every Man. Who's read Midsummer Night's Dream? Yes, good. Remember them? They're not, right? The Rude Mechanicals, remember them? Right? Yes, the Rude Mechanicals. That is a very nice little snapshot of the kind of community-generated theatrical activity that was popular in the late Middle Ages and through the Renaissance. Where if you lived in a small town, yeah, you know, all the working people might get together and put on a play. And they would put on something like Every Man, or another mystery or morality play, or an adaptation of an old Greek or Roman play. In Midsummer, it's Pyramus and Thisbe, which is a really adapted old classical play. At any rate, so this play was the way that people could learn about their faith in an era where you could not read the scriptures directly, and certainly didn't have the education or the self-confidence to interpret the scriptures and come to a conclusion. Those ideas of you individually picking up a Bible tonight and reading it and deciding for yourself what you believe, that is a late idea in terms of Western religious history. All right, having said all that, let's see how our Everymen did, all right? So, let's see, we'll probably go in the order of the, start with fellowship. Lots of fellowship. I figured you guys would do well in fellowship. You're a fellowshipy kind of group, right? When fellowship appears on the scene on page 276, have a look at that. Actually, fellowship turns up a little bit earlier than that at 275. Death has just left, right? And Every Man has a nice little soliloquy monologue. Fellowship comes in the bottom of 274, top 275. And fellowship is, of course, cheerful, right? Happy. Fellowship's the guy that you want to hang out with, right? Right? He says, to Every Man, on line 211 says, I am in great jeopardy. What's that great jeopardy?
Eternal damnation.
Yes, eternal damnation. Come on, hell. Death just left, right? Remember, just walked out. Just missed, right? Exactly, right. Death was just here, he says, in jeopardy. And fellowship, my true friend, show to me your mind. I will not forsake thee to my life's end. And this is an important line. In the way of good company. Now, this is where the careful reading of drama takes precedence over your sense of theater. This is a dramatic piece. I mean, obviously it could be performed, but when you read this play, you got to think in terms of language. Why is that last line particularly important when we try to understand the character of fellowship? What's he say? He's good company? Read the line's conclusion. Very close attention.
My true friend, show to me your mind. I will not forsake thee to my life's end in the way of good company.
Now, you in English majors in particular probably already picked this up. In the way of. What do those words mean for fellowship? I will not forsake thee to my life's end. Okay.
Unless it's
Yes, that's a good word.
positive thing.
Unless, except, in the way of. That's a nice little phrase that allows fellowship to bail when things are no longer fun. And if you just blew past that line, and later you say fellowship did not keep his word, I would disagree with you. Fellowship, right off the bat, says very clearly what fellowship is good for. And he's good for a lot. My true friend, show me your mind. Right? Did you say death just stopped by? Tell me all about it. I'm fellowship. Fellowship's great. Fellowship will go to Waffle House with you. Fellowship will listen to how you broke up with your significant other last night.
He's
Right?
gonna sit in hell again.
Well, fellowship will hang out until you got to go. Well, fellowship might even take you to the emergency room. But fellowship ain't going to give you a kick. Fellowship says, my true friend, show me your mind. So you think early on, oh, that's nice. Show me your mind. Share your problems with me. Right? I will not forsake thee to my life's end. But notice there's a line break but not a piece of punctuation. It's not, I will not forsake thee to my life's end, period. It's, I will not forsake thee till my life's end in the way of good company. So grammatically, what we're saying is, as long as this is fun, I'm with you. I'm with you to the end. I'll stay with you till death, as long as life is what? Good. Yeah. Right? So tell me about how these pieces got up here. Woo.
Me.
Really? A lot of fellowship.
Yeah, I had some classes today.
Really? Okay. So give me some examples of fellowshipy things that you did that earned you some of these things.
Well, I normally don't see my roommates in the morning, but my roommate was late leaving, so I got to talk with her while I was making my coffee.
Okay. Is your roommate in this class?
No. Well, one of them is, but not the one I talked
Does
to.
everybody in this class live with everybody else?
No.
Does
or has at some point.
All in English. Nobody gets that.
I got that.
I'm old. Good. All right. Hung out with your roommate. What else?
Yeah. Then I texted my boyfriend, which I think that was kind of disfellowship.
Okay.
And then I had a class that was canceled at 11, so I went to Einstein, the people that are in this room.
Okay. All right. Good fellowship there.
Then I got out of another class early, so went back to Einstein with the same group of people.
Okay. Now I want to pause here. Without naming names, if at Einstein's a fire had broken out, how many of them would have died to make sure you got out of Einstein? Like they had to either die or push you out the door.
Don't
Damn.
know.
You don't know, right? Right. That's a perfectly good fellowship one, right? But if Einstein's was burning down, in the way of good company, ain't the way of good company, right? Einstein's is not going to burn down. Now, if you keep charging me $7 for a bagel, I will burn. Stop.
It's on camera. On camera.
All right, good. You're getting it. All right, who is next on our big parade? Fellowship. Yeah, Kindred. Kindred's an important one. Back here. Now you're off at college, so Kindred may not be as resonant for you as it would be for the audience of this play. But remember, this play was probably done for people who never moved more than 4 or 5 miles from the place they were born. Remember, we're in medieval England. You could be born, live, and die within 1 mile and never think that you were neglected, never think that you had missed out on something. There was certainly traveling in this era, especially pilgrimages. They loved going on pilgrimages. But in the sense that we think nothing of getting in the car and driving 3 or 4 hours, remember, these people have no railroad, certainly nothing more complicated than a horse to get around on. So Kindred would have been very powerful for these people because Kindred would have also been their social circle. There would have been a significant overlap between Fellowship and Kindred. And you might have lived in the same house your whole life with 3 or 4 generations. Your children, your parents, and your grandparents might share the same roof or the same cluster of buildings. So I'm not surprised there's less Kindred here because you're 21st century college students and probably not having daily contact with your immediate family. But still, let's do some Kindred stuff. Who was green?
That was me.
Okay.
I don't know why I have 2 up there. I think there's only supposed to be 1.
All right. Well, tell me what was your Kindred thing?
I liked my mom's post on Facebook this
Oh,
morning.
good for you.
I know.
Did you really like it or were you just picturing?
No, I really did.
Oh, that's nice. And you don't know what the second one was?
I think that was a mistake. I think that meant to go in fellowship.
Yeah.
Someone put it there. One of my minions made a
Yeah.
mistake.
All right. Pink, who was Pink?
Me.
What was your Kindred thing?
Well, I guess I was like kind of 2. Like I talked to my dad
Okay.
today, and then Kindred. I guess are not really my immediate family, but I was with my sorority sisters, so that's
Yeah,
fellowship.
that's gotta be fellowship.
Yeah, that's more fellowship.
But okay, all
But I
right.
think they put it there.
For now, it's good. All right. Kindred says on page 277, and Kindred comes in with cousin. I could have put cousin up here too, but it was simply just put Kindred. Same idea. These are blood relatives. These are your family, right? Kindred and cousin come in the middle of page 277, and Kindred says, "In wealth and woe we will with you hold. For over his kin a man may be bold." And every man says, "Gramercy." Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Kindred says, what account is that which ye must render? That would I know. And then every man says, I have to go through my life and consider how I've lived. I have to, he says, of how I have lived in my days spent. So every man is saying, I've got to go through my whole life and think about it. I'm about to be, death showed up. I'm going to die. I got to tell death how it's going on. And on page 278, Kindred says, ah, sir, what? Ye be a merry man. Take good heart to you and make no moan. Right? So in other words, relax. It's going to be okay. Right? And cousin says, trust not to me, for so God may speed, I will deceive you in your most need. Again, these abstractions do not deceive every man. They actually come up front and say, I'm here now. I'm not the thing that's going to save your soul. So proceed with caution. How would this play out for a medieval person? How would kindred be not the way to get to heaven or not the key to heaven? Hmm?
Killing your family to attain your goods.
Oh, yeah, that would definitely not work. No, I mean, well, I probably have not phrased the question right. But in terms of what is the point here? What are you trying to get to?
You can't ride on their goodness.
Good, very good. Your kindred, maybe they can help you become a better person morally. Maybe they can guide you in your decision making. But nothing your brother, your cousin, your mother, or your dad can do can change your status when you're working through this theological problem of, am I going to save my soul? Right? Kindred. All right, let's keep going. We've got to move a little bit quicker here. Sorry. Goods. Oh, I like goods. Goods is...
Back the other way.
Oh, the other way. Goods. Goods comes in on 280, right? Goods actually comes in on 279, right? Sir, and ye in the world have sorrow and adversity, that can I help you remedy shortly. How can goods help us with sorrow and adversity?
Material goods.
Yeah. What are goods?
Coffee, chocolate, clothes,
Video
blankets, stuff.
Right. This is, I mean, this play is spiritual, but it is certainly worldly as well. In this earth, we face, to use Goods' phrase, sorrow and adversity. And yes, goods, material objects, can assuage our sorrows and help us avoid adversity. If you are starving and there's a hamburger, and the hamburger is a good, and this is material goods, this is not good thing, like good actions, this is physical objects. I am tired. This chair is a good.
Good.
Good. Good. Now my sorrow and adversity is reduced because of this chair. If you take this chair and I fall on the floor, I will have sorrow and adversity, right? So I was going to ask you the other thing, but I think it's a little over. Right. Everything, all your physical objects, your cell phones, the clothing you're wearing, even your shelter, your apartment, your car, these can help you in sorrow and adversity. But is it enough? No. All right. Blue. Well, you were. All right. Tell us about your goods. You did a lot of goodsing.
We were just like, yeah.
Yeah, just everything I said, they put something.
Okay.
I drink a lot of coffee today. I bought
All right.
some things at Einstein.
Okay.
What were some of the
More clothes.
Oh, wore clothes. Oh yes, I talked about ironing a dress with my mom this morning.
Okay. What was the dual color?
Me.
Tell me about your goods today.
I was hungry, and good thing IHOP exists. 'Cause
There you
I
go. Yeah. Now notice we could have multiple things going on here. If you went to IHOP with your friends, that was fellowship.
Right.
You bought food, which helps you in sorrow and adversity. Your stomach is growling because you're hungry.
That's
Might also be a good deed if you buy your friend lunch, right? These things can all work together. However, just like the other entities in this play, goods says what its limits are and then pulls back, right? Every man, on line 440. As for a while, I was lent thee. A season thou hast me in prosperity. My condition is man's soul to kill. If I save one, 1,000 I do still. Alright, so how can goods actually be a problem for every man's overall mission?
Too much is too much.
Okay.
In cloud vision.
Yes, yes. I mean, this is like a classic, this is, what's the scriptural line? It's harder for rich men to
It's
go
harder
through the
for a rich man, it's harder for a camel.
camel to go through the eye of the needle, and rich man enter the kingdom of heaven, right? Right? The happy the poor in spirit, right? The idea is that while goods can temporarily, thus the word lent is something you borrow, while worldly goods can temporarily assuage worldly sorrow. My chair helps when I'm feeling tired. Your IHOP helps you when you're feeling hungry. Your clothing helps you when you're feeling cold, right? Those worldly goods are very dangerous for the big picture. This is goods talking, if I save one, so if you gave bread to a starving person and that good saved that starving person, right? 1,000 I do still. How does goods kill 1,000 for everyone it saves? 1,000 people that got plenty of bread, and what else? And fish, and what else? Wine, and what else? Meat, and what else? And a car, and a house, and a new cell phone. And then what happens when you start thinking about your spiritual life? Stop. Very good, right? Goods are lent and have a purpose. And this is a play that doesn't say it's not completely aesthetic, all things are bad, go live in the forest. This is a medieval play that says there are reasons to have goods. They can address the temporary physical limitations of this earth, but goods will kill more than they will save because too many people will fall in love with the material objects, jeopardize their moving on to heaven, right? Okay. Good deeds. Over here. Good deeds 281. Oh, good deeds, I stand in fear. I must you pray of counsel, for help now should come right well. Every man, this is 281, I have understanding that ye summoned, account to make. Goods knows that every man has to make an account. Goods knows what's going on here. And Goods says, yea, sir, if ye had perfectly cheered me, your book count full ready had be, and good deeds shows him the account book. So good deeds gestures with the book, and on one side is what? What do you guess is listed on one side of this book? It's account book. Yeah, good deeds, the good things. The times you fed the hungry, the times you clothed the naked, the times you visited people in prison, right? The times that you helped somebody who needed help, right? And you want that book to be full. All right, look at a good deed.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, tell me about your good deed.
I held the door open
All right,
for people.
very good. What's your other one?
I gave a kid my notes to copy in math since he was sick last week.
Oh, excellent. Green? Go 2 for green? Is this real?
I drove.
Well, because over there, was that real?
No, these are real. One was I held the door open for someone also, and I drove Will to the shop.
Okay, good. All right. Oh, look at this. All right.
Yeah. She didn't have money at IHOP, so I spotted her.
Nice. Wow, that's a good deed. Good. All right.
This lady was like dealing with her kid and getting out of the car and leaving at IHOP, and I waited for her to like do her thing before I approached my vehicle.
All right.
What was the other one? Do you remember? I tipped the waitress, and some people don't do that.
Okay.
I gave her a good tip.
You love
It
the door.
was a good deed.
That's a good deed.
Yeah, I held the door open.
For 2 people at once.
It's like a class full of Mother Teresa's in here.
Yes.
All this door holding.
The door
It's melting my heart.
You would be astounded if somebody holds that.
And it's wasting air conditioning.
All right, good, good. Okay, now remember, before I sneer at your impressive list of door holdings. I picked a random Wednesday. It probably wasn't your day to save the world. If I gave you a month, you'd have something more profound.
Yeah.
But I want to illustrate the point here while we're here on good deeds. Every man is not given a lot of warning. Death shows up and says, guess what? Today's the day. Get your book out because the judgment is coming. And the point here is that the number of pieces of paper on this sheet is the only number that really matters, right? So while you're managing with goods to get through your day, and while your day is more pleasant because of fellowship, and while you have kindred and you're taking care of your family and you're contacting your mom and you're helping your little sister with her homework and all those things are active parts of life, both in the medieval era and today, different details, right? But the fact that this page does not have dozens and dozens of pieces of paper would be an issue. That's really the big point, that, this is the most important sheet of paper, but that's not really how it works.